Good afternoon, everyone. This is Brian Chopper from Geopath. Thank you for signing up and attending today's out-of-home office hours. This is going to be about our partnership with SQAD. Today we have Scott and Sean from Geopath, as well as Deborah Meyer, CRO of SQAD, and Tim Dolson, VP of Research and Development. A little bit about our agenda today. We're going to go through what the Geopath and SQAD partnership entails and how that came to be. And then Deborah and Tim are going to talk about SQAD's methodology, and then we are going to show you how to find the SQAD data within our O-Plan tool. So I'm going to turn it over to Scott Piachetti now to start off.
Cool. Thank you, Brian. And again, I just also want to echo, Brian, thank you to everybody signing up and joining the webinar on a Friday. We really appreciate it. I just wanted to spend a few minutes before we get into it, just talking about the overall relationship and give a quick background on how it came to fruition. So back in April 2017, just several months ago, out-of-home data was first released in SQAD, and I do want to pause a moment to give a big shout out to Steve Nicklin and Stephen Freitas at the OOHOH for really working behind the scenes and making that happen and helping facilitate that. So big thanks there. And as if you've hopefully seen on Monday, December 11th, this data is now available in Geopath's market planning tool, O-Plan. And the whole goal behind all of this and why we want this and why we're so excited about this is the goal is to really help make out-of-home easier to plan, buy, and sell, and have it positioned right alongside other channels during the planning and buying process. And what is available in O-Plan, it's market average pricing data, and it's available at the format level right now for billboards and street furniture. And this is for within any market that you have access to. The data is updated quarterly, and Tim and Deborah will talk more about the methodology behind how the data is collected and kept up to date and all of that. But one of the key things I do want to mention as well is this data, in terms of where it's available to Geopath members, it's, as I said a moment ago, it's available in O-Plan, but it's for members who also have a SQAD subscription as well. And that's why we wanted to give everybody the opportunity to have a little bit more of an understanding of SQAD, who they are, what they do, how the data is collected, as I said, and then what you can do with this data. And then once Deborah and Tim are done with that, I'll show everybody just a quick run through of where it is in O-Plan. It's really straightforward and pretty simple, but I wanted to make sure everybody's aware of what it looks like and where it is. And with that, I'll hand it off to Deborah.
Great, thanks, Scott. Good afternoon, everyone. It's a pleasure for me to be speaking with you on behalf of SQAD. We're really excited about the partnership with Geopath and to be supporting the out-of-home industry in general. A little bit just about SQAD and the way our product suite is structured. So SQAD's been serving the media industry for over 25 years, and our product suite is structured in 3 distinct verticals. First, we have our media tools product vertical, and that's comprised of our product called Media Tools. It's the #1 planning tool in the industry, and it's leveraged by advertisers, agencies, and by media companies. It's a planning software. Our second vertical that you see is our media cost vertical, which houses all of our cost databases. This is where the out-of-home data resides, and we're going to talk a little bit further as we move along in terms of some facts and figures and the other data that also resides in our media cost vertical. And our third vertical is called Media Logic, and this is where we have a platform that analyzes both the Nielsen and ComScore data, and it's leveraged mostly by broadcasters. So if we move to the next slide. On this slide is the picture of the SQAD interface, and this is where our cost data resides, so the second vertical that I just referenced. And this is where, as a SQAD subscriber to out-of-home data, you can leverage the out-of-home data.
Cool. I just want to say one thing I think we forgot to mention before we jumped right into it. If you have questions, please feel free to reach out to us through the questions widget in the GoToWebinar tool.
Great, thanks, Scott. So also in the cost database that I just showed you guys the interface for a minute ago, we have other cost databases. So our local television, cable, radio, Hispanic, now out of home. We also have national television data and digital data. So I'll leave this up here for just a second. I'm not going to run through every single number on this slide, but just give you guys a minute to sort of take in all the different data that we do have in the different medias. And you can see it's really robust, and as I mentioned, this is why we really are the industry standard in terms of cost databases. And again, as Scott mentioned, feel free to chime in with some questions more about these data sets. And again, out of home is going to be sitting side by side in our cost data sets, so we're really excited about giving the people the option to compare the media side by side. So with that, we can move to our next slide. And Tim's going to talk a little bit about the methodology, and then after that, we're going to page back to the actual out-of-home SQAD product. So Tim Dulson.
Thanks, I think we're not on my slide, though.
Oh, okay. I thought you were going to say. Sorry, Tim. I thought you were going to take the slide. No problem. This is just a little bit about either which way. This is just a little bit about more about the out-of-home data. So we issue it quarterly. We report the current quarter and also project 4 quarters in each issue, or in each sort of issue, I guess you'd say. We report the top 100 DMAs and CBSA markets. We have 40+ demographics. We report on billboards and street furniture, average, low, and high CPMs and CPPs, as we're going to demonstrate a little further in the discussion today. And we report by market, demo, and media type.
Great. Cool.
All right, Tim, now you're up.
Thanks, Deb. In order to report the cost per point or cost per thousand, we receive information or data from 2 different sources. To understand the costs associated with each buy, we receive ad buy records from confidential contributors. Our contributors for the out-of-home data are a collection of the media companies, and we have additional media companies soon to be added to the database. And actually, we welcome other contributors that have an interest in getting involved in this product. We welcome additional contributors as well. The more the merrier, so to speak. So that information gives us information related to each buy and its associated cost. They also provide information related to what the actual media is for the buy. Then we also get the actual audience or impressions information by panel from Geopath. Having those 2 pieces of information, we can merge them together, and actually allows us to compute cost per point or cost per thousand for each buy. Now, we don't report it at each individual buy level, obviously. We accumulate that data and actually report cost per point, and then convert the cost per point to cost per thousand for each market, demographic, and media type. And as Deb mentioned earlier, we actually report the cost per point and cost per thousand at 3 different levels. We report a low cost per point, an average cost per point, and high cost per point. And I won't go through the details of the exact computation, but I do want to let people know that the low cost per point, for example, is not the minimum cost per point for a particular market, demographic, or media type. It is actually the cost per point for the buy, such that approximately 37% of the buys have cost per points that are lower, and about 63% of the buys are higher. Similarly, when we report the average, that is the buy or the cost per point, such that half the buys are below that value and half the buys are above. And lastly, when we report the high cost per point, that is essentially the buy where about 25% of the buys have cost per point that are higher and 75% are lower. Now, in terms of the dimensions that we report, we report about 100 DMAs and 100 CVSAs. Along with that, we report demographics. In all markets, we report 27 demographics that are combinations of age, sex, and income dimensions. But an additional 21 demographics are reported in 18 markets that are designated as Hispanic markets. In other words, they tend to have higher Hispanic penetration. So we also report age and gender among Hispanic persons in those markets as well. And then lastly, we reported for each media type. Currently, there are about 18 different media types that are reported. I want to go on to the next slide. So as Deb mentioned, we report cost per point by market, media type, and demographic for each quarter. But obviously it's important to have estimates of what the cost per points would be in future quarters. So we actually report not only the current quarter cost per points, but we do forecast them to the next quarter up to 4 quarters ahead. And to do that, we actually use reported cost per point from previous quarters. And having the previous quarter's cost per point allows us to model the relationship between each pair of quarters, and then we can use that relationship to project to future quarters. So back to you, Deb.
And we had a question come in that I think we can address now about, you mentioned the media types, and there's a question about which ones.
Yes, so we have a list, and we have it on our website, I believe, as well. Just in terms of street furniture, it sort of goes on and on, but we can send you guys the list, whoever had asked the questions, but benches, newsstands, digital newsstands, phone kiosks, transit shelters, urban panels,
Right.
Digital billboards, sort of goes on and on.
It's the full suite of what we measure in terms of billboards and street furniture. Is that fair, Sean, to say?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. We also got one more question on Tim. If you could go back and do another quick explanation of how the low, medium, and high is calculated.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I probably was somewhat of a complicated subject, but as I mentioned, we report a low cost per point, average cost per point, and high cost per point for each market, demographic, and media type. And the way we do that is, if you think about a specific market, a specific demographic, and a specific media type, we take all the buys that fall into that categorization and rank them from low cost per point to high cost per point. So let's just take an example. Let's say there was 100 buys for one market, one demographic, and one media type. After doing that sort from low to high, the low cost per point that we report would be the one that was number 37 in that ranking out of the 100. The average cost per point would be the one that was ranked 50th out of the 100. And then the high cost per point would be the one that was ranked 75th out of the 100. So we're actually reporting percentiles of the cost per point within each of those 3 dimensions. Does that help?
Cool. Well, I think so. I mean, and if there's other questions on it, we can always go back to it near the end. But thank you for doing that.
Okay.
Thanks, Tim. So now we're going to show you guys just in the SQAD suite what a couple of the reports look like. We're not going to go into agonizing detail on these reports, but I want to make sure that you guys understand the robust nature of what's available in the SQAD platform. So the report that you see right now on the screen is the out-of-home trend report, and here you have the ability to trend cost per point between 2 quarters, whether it be year over year or quarter over quarter. The trending options that are available are trending by market, either by DMA or CVSA, also by demo or media format. The next report that we're going to show you is the cost per point report. And as Tim mentioned, here we report on low, average, and high CPMs. The data is flexible. Obviously, this is just in alphabetical order that you see here, and you can save your reports to send or manipulate in how you feel appropriate. The next report is the out-of-home CPM report. You can look at the report by market, by media type, again, low, average, and high CPMs, and it's multi-demo reporting, and again, multiple export options on this report as well. And the last report that I'm going to show you today is the buying strategy tool, which allows you to generate an out-of-home plan or budget based on your GRP goals by media type, your percent weight by media type, or goals, again, by media type. The buy strategy can be specific to a particular market or a group of markets. It's a quick and easy way to get an average planning cost for your out-of-home media mix. And once your strategy plan is complete, you can take the plan and, again, export it and manipulate it that way. So those are some examples of the ways that out-of-home data is available in the SQAD platform. So now we're going to move to Scott, and he's going to show you.
Yeah, so I just wanted to give everyone a quick view of where this data is available in the O-Plan tool. So this is a screenshot of our website, and it's available in the tools section of the site, and you would click on O-Plan. And just here's a quick screenshot before I do go into it of the data of a report that I pulled. And if you see, what the change will be, you'll see is in this upper right-hand corner where we have the buttons for determining the cost basis, the rate level, and then selecting the quarter. So let me jump into the tool quick, and I'll show you. I've already logged into O-Plan here, and I'll go through the whole process. So, so you would pick DMA or CDSA, in particular, depending on what you're subscribing to. For now, I'm going to pick new DMA, and then again, if you work in this tool, this will look familiar to you all. So the universe, I'm going to leave at 18 plus. For the market, for this example, I'm actually going to pick New York because that's one of the DMAs that we have access to here, and then format. So as I said, we know for all billboard and street furniture. So I'm just going to bring that whole category over here, and then pick randomly, or just pick a vendor or two that I know have inventory. Pick a couple. There we go. Sorry, let me go back up. Sorry. I'm taking so long with this. Where's the? Apologies, everyone. I was just looking for something in particular. All right. Let me go back up. There we go. I just wanted to pick more than one. Sorry. And so then, just looking at our at the planning inventory level report, you'll see it's being generated. And here is the report, and it's this far right column, CPM rate, is where the data will start to show up. And right now it's showing a CPM average for for 2018 quarter 2, so forward-looking data. But again, you can pick CPP if you'd like to, and boom, and pick a high rate. And again, you'll see the data start to change. And as well, you can do a drop-down menu and pick a different quarter. Or multiple quarters. I'm picking one quarter, and then have the data update as well. So it's pretty straightforward and pretty simple as to where the data is and where it shows up in the tool. not to put you on the spot, Sean, but is there anything, I know you had a lot of involvement in where this lives in the tool and getting it into our whole plan tool. Anything else you want to make sure everybody's aware of or knows about?
Well, I think the important thing to note, as Scott indicated earlier, is that only O-Plan users who are licensed to access the SQAD data will see selections for CPP and the different rate levels and quarters. So otherwise, I think that's about it. I think it's a pretty simple integration.
Okay. All right, cool. Well, thank you. And just want to go back to the deck, and just as we're coming up, just to give people an opportunity to answer a question or two, and we'll try to field a few questions before we sign off.
Yeah, there just was a question in terms of the reports that were available in the SQAD database. So we're not going to go back to the reports, but I'll just quickly repeat what reports we showed. One was the out-of-home trend report. The second report that we showed was the cost per point report. The third was the CPM report, and the fourth report was the buying strategy and planning tool report. And at the end of the session, my email and Tim's email will be displayed, and so feel free to contact either one of us, and we can take you through any other questions that you guys may have. And I see some more questions are coming in.
So one question that came in, and might keep to Sean, and I think this is in relation to our O-Plan tool, I'm assuming. Are you able to enter a percent reach and receive total number of units to reach the target?
A percent reach. I don't believe that's how the tool works. Honestly, I'm going to need to go back and check. So we'll do that and get back to the individual who asked the question.
Okay. And I believe so, yes, you can actually enter reach. I just got a note from
Okay.
Yeah.
Real time.
Yeah, and get the number panel. So yes. And then a question about
there's a question about if the data is going to be available in Telmar on the SQAD side, and so that the answer to that is yes. It should be very shortly.
Okay. Cool. It's funny, I had a lot of people jumping in to say, yes, you can get reach. So yes. Sorry, thank you, everyone. Appreciate that. I think that there's one question, I think it's kind of a broader question on, how buyers could or should use these rates. Is it just for general planning purposes, and just kind of the intent behind these? And do you want to handle that, Deborah? Okay. Again, I see these as in the general planning.
Yeah, I
purpose as you're starting to come up with your plan, and again, where they live is in planning tools. So that's ultimately where I kind of see the intent of the.
Right. I think, Scott, you said it perfectly. People use our costs overall for planning, for benchmarking, for different purposes, but I would say planning is definitely one of the primary functions for negotiating. There's a lot of different uses for markets that you've never been in before, markets that you're comparing one market to the other.
Right. Yeah, and that's agreed, and that's ultimately, I think, the intent to really those early stages when you're planning to give general guidance to kind of these ranges, not be like the dollar amount that you're going to negotiate against. That's my understanding as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and there was a question just in terms of our contributors and who they comprised of. One of the things with SQAD that's allowed us to be so successful for so many years and cover all different types of media, so again, national, television, and web, is we don't reveal who our contributors are. So that's part of, we keep that really close to the vest. So we really can't disclose that, and that's for the contributors benefit.
Okay, cool. So seems like the questions that's all the questions. We'll just kind of slowly move to the thank you slide to give people time if there are any other questions. But again, want to say thank you to everybody. And we know it's a Friday, you know, it's the holiday season, so we thank you everyone for joining. And as we said, you know, if you are interested and want more information, you can reach out to Deborah or Tim at their email addresses here. And again, just want to say thank you. And in terms of our next out-of-home office hours, you know, we'll be reaching out in the new year with new dates and times for our upcoming webinars. But just want to say thank you to everybody and happy holidays. Have a great start to the new year.
Thank you.
Cool. Thanks, everyone.
Happy holidays.
Thank you.